Welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where we spoil the end of our episode right at the beginning.
Sort of like how the WWE tends to do, huh?
Yeah, you should have seen this week's episode of Raw, am I right?
Oh man, I love how the show begins with Randy Orton and he's challenging Drew McIntyre, and I'm like, what happened? Like, isn't Drew McIntyre supposed to have a match against Dolph Ziggler?
Like, it should have been Dolph Ziggler, I guess. You should have challenged Dolph Ziggler. It should have been him.
I'm Jazzy Podcast.
And I'm Johnny Podcast.
And we're here to recap Monday Night Raw. And as we were saying, the show begins with the sadistic legend killer. And he talks about being the youngest world heavyweight champion. He went on to winning it, I think, 12 times. You know, he talks about the legacy, the authority, evolution. He talks about Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and how they don't hold a candle to his resume, to his accomplishments. And Randy Orton is the type of person that has done what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, and to who he wants to do it. But something is missing, and it's the WWE Championship. So he calls out Drew McIntyre, and you know, he says that Drew McIntyre 10 years ago was so far up his ass that he got his ass fired. I thought that was a pretty clever line. But he's got to give him credit because you know, since he's come back, he's had this hunger and he's had the drive, and for that he's had Orton's respect. And he's like, but Drew, you got a problem. And that problem is that you have what I want. And he wants a title match at Summerslam. So poor Dolph Ziggler, he's got no shot tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been Dolph Ziggler that was challenged by Randy Orton, I think. All the Dolph Ziggler fans out there.
In shambles.
They're in shambles right now because I guess we spoiled it. Honestly, Dolph Ziggler should win tonight. This is the only way. This is the only way to have justice here. But yeah, solid promo by Randy Orton. He is at the top of his game right now, and he did like totally trash Drew McIntyre and then still talk him up. Mm-hmm. And I guess he's ready to be the champion now. Yeah,
I thought it was a great fiery promo by Randy Orton, and it was cool because the opening segment didn't take 20 minutes and it didn't drag along. It legit took 5 minutes. He said what he had to say, and it felt just good, like, you know, to kind of him, you know, for him to just talk for 5 minutes and move on and not have this, you know, opening segment just drag on and on and on. But as he's making his way to the back, Nia Jax comes out, and we haven't seen her since she injured Charlotte, right?
I know. That's great. And now I'm kind of disappointed. I'm like, Nia Jax, yeah.
But it's so funny because Byron's like, oh, we haven't seen her since she injured Charlotte, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, because Nia has a tendency to injure people.
Well, then I'm sure every time the last time you saw Nia Jax was a time where she injured somebody. It's like she injures somebody like almost 100% of the time. So
yeah, well,
I don't know what to say.
She gets on the mic.
Her promo is. Yeah, she copies Randy Orton's promo.
Basically.
She also wants the WWE title, but the women's title. And she does mention how Charlotte hasn't been seen since she got in the way of Nia's opportunity for the title. And she doesn't get very far in saying what she has to say because Shayna Baszler's music hits, and this is what I actually got. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. And Shayna Baszler just says nobody cares what you want, and then they start fighting each other, and the refs have to break them apart. And I just suddenly got interested in Nia Jax segment. Wow.
Well, it's you know, like Nia actually punches her when she says that nobody gives a damn what you want, and I was like, please don't injure her face for real. Please don't injure her. You know, referees, they separate them. And
was her nose bloody? Was this a Becky Lynch thing all over again?
Yeah, honestly, like I'm really down for this feud. They're gonna make us choose between Shayna and Nia, and I love it.
I've already chosen Shayna. I don't like.
Yeah, same.
Like. As much as we used to love Baron Corbin, I hate Nia Jax just as much as I used to love Baron Corbin. It's a very passionate hatred.
Yeah. So after the commercial break, we have the Street Profits. They're in the ring. They're hyping up the #1 contenders match for their title, and they're going to be on commentary. So they introduced the 3 teams: the Viking Raiders versus Richard and Cedric, the Sports Entertainer versus Angel and Andrade. And I have to say that they're such good hype men. And at one point, when they're introducing Andrade and Garza, they talk about how Charlie Caruso is wanting to get her raid on. That was actually pretty funny too.
Yeah, they also made Thor references to hype up the Viking Raiders. Basically, they gave a nice intro to the Viking Raiders and Cedric and Richard, but they didn't give such a nice flattering entrance to Andrade and Angel Garza, which is, you know, kind of rude, I would say.
That's how I knew what the outcome of the match was. But hey,
But again, in the interest of the theme of this episode about spoiling things before they happen, yeah, very obvious who's going to win this match, but it was a very good match nonetheless.
The title of this podcast is going to be very spoiler heavy also. I'm just going to put all the spoilers. But hey, let's go on to the match. Yes. Angel and Andrade,
listen to this episode.
Angel and Andrade, they started attacking both teams before the bell even rings. They get face-to-face with the Street Profits before the break, but after the break, we see a great display of wrestling from the teams of the Viking Raiders and Ricochet and Cedric, while the heel teams are just chilling outside. They're just kind of clapping along. They're just like watching the match. The two face teams had such good chemistry, I found, and at one point they see the heels and they're just chilling and they start go outside and they start swarming at them. And we even saw Ricochet working with Andrade at one point, hitting a bunch of running kicks on the Viking Raiders. And I'm like, tranquilo, Ricochet. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you working with Andrade?
Ricochet just wants to belong.
Yeah, he just wants to belong. But honestly, I thought that the match was really great. I found that there was, but I did find that it was a little hard to keep up who the legal men were. But that doesn't mean that it was bad. It was just high-octane offense. And towards the end of the match, Ivar hit a rolling splash on the outside. But he took out his teammate as well, except for the heels. And that's how
he take out? He took out everyone except Andrade and Angel, no? Or did he take one of them? I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe he took out Andrade, but either way, the heels took advantage of that, and Garza hit the wing clipper on Cedric for the win. I have to say, I'm not a fan of the wing clipper. It doesn't look like it hurts. Like, he just grabs the guy and he shoves him on his butt. Like, I just don't understand. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most exciting finish, especially after that huge splash from Ivar.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, no surprise here who the winners are. They've been hyping this feud for, I don't know how long. They just beat them last week in a non-title match? It's literally writes itself, this segment, this match outcome. Not much to say.
Yeah.
Entertaining match nonetheless.
After the match, they get face to face, but the heels, they start attacking them and they cower. They run away before the Street Profits are able to retaliate. Next up, we have Nia Jax. She's backstage and she's talking to the ref John Cone before her match against Shayna, but it really wasn't much of a match because the slugfest was on at the beginning and the ref just couldn't contain them. They start brawling outside and then they get counted out. But post-match, they continue to brawl. Nia is botching everywhere. It was crazy. The security couldn't even contain them as they got attacked. Yeah, and Nia did get the best of Shayna as she shoved her out. But dude, it was really, really bad to see. Clearly, Shayna knows how to kind of brawl, but Nia just doesn't, and her punches weren't landing, and then she was kind of hitting her awkwardly, and she was just botching everything. So I tried to say something nice, I just couldn't. We're gonna
so we're gonna moving on. I hope this ends with Shayna Baszler just choking her out. That would be sweet. Shayna Baszler, the ultimate face turn. Let's go. I'm down.
We have a backstage segment with Rollins and Buddy Murphy, and Seth sees that Murphy is distraught and asks him if he's with him. And Murphy asks him if he really thinks that Dominic is going to show up tonight, and he says, "Don't worry, buddy. The greater good will move forward." And before they actually make their way to the ring, we actually see Mark Henry talking to Ruby Riott and Bianca Belair. So that was really nice to see Mark Henry.
The big man. He's still got a lot left in the tank.
Sexual chocolate.
You know it.
So Seth Rollins, he makes his way to the ring along with Buddy Murphy, and he says that he has defeated the legend of Rey Mysterio, and last week he defeated Aleister Black, and he should be in a great mood, but he's not, because Dominic is here tonight and he plans to confront the Monday Night Messiah. And he talks about how every single time the greater good takes 2 steps forward, someone stands in the way and he's forced to take a step backwards. And the violence that ensues is not because of him. It's the people that actually stand in front of him. So Owen stood in his way and then he broke his ankle. Mysterio stood in his way and he lost his eye. And he talks about Aleister Black.
Broke his eye.
Yeah, Aleister Black stood in his way and he injured his arm. And tonight, though, he wants to do this the right way. So he politely asks Dominic to come out to avoid any sort of confrontation that may turn violent. And someone actually in the crowd yells, "Take his eye out," which I thought was hilarious. It was the best.
They are surprisingly welcoming. They are very humble and they welcome Dominic to the ring. They're very, very kind to him from what I was seeing. They were like, "Come on in." They were holding the ropes for him. They really wanted to extend a peace gesture, it seems.
Yeah, Seth actually, says that if you need any guidance, I'm here for you. He opens his arm to him, but Dominic just takes him out and he goes after Murphy. Seth and Murphy, they start double teaming him. They start throwing him into the barricade multiple times. They start stomping at him violently. They throw him at the side of the announce desk, and you can see the announcers are really selling this though. Samoa Joe is listen, like the whole Mysterio family has had it. Like they've been just, Seth Rollins is going after them. It's crazy. And
Yeah, if Samoa Joe see something is up and something's wrong, then so we've gone too far.
yeah, exactly. And then, so as they throw him at the side of the announce desk, Aleister Black comes out of nowhere to help Dominic, but they quickly started attacking his arm. Yeah, it took him a while, but they quickly started attacking his arm. Rollins then tells Murphy that he knows what he has to do. Murphy's reluctant, but then Rollins slaps him, and he basically tells him to take out his eye on the steel steps. And we can kind of see that like Murphy actually shoves his eye on the steel steps for a little while, but then Seth Rollins kind of stops him. And then a little bit later, Dominic, however, takes a kendo stick, and then he starts hitting them so hard. And I had to say, man, there was such fire in his hits. Like, it was pretty intense.
He must be having the time of his life,
Oh yeah,
wants to be a wrestler. His dad's hooking him up with some screen time. It's working out really well for him.
It is, but you know what's not working out pretty well? Your internet connection, because you're sounding like a robot now.
Wow, it's not my internet connection. How
Well,
could you call on my internet connection live?
I don't know, man.
Wow.
So next up we have Mustafa Ali. He's backstage with R-Truth, which is so funny because R-Truth is like, I heard you're a guest at the MVP lounge, and then Ali corrects him saying that it's actually the VIP lounge.
But why isn't it the MVP lounge though? Seriously, that's actually a better name.
Well, that's a good point. Maybe we can write a letter to the WWE. And he asks Mustafa Ali, he's like, I hope that you're not going after the 24/7 title because I'm going after my baby. And Ali's like, listen, I'm just focused on Lashley. And R-Truth, like, before leaving, says, I got my eyes on you, Mufasa. And he's like, did he just call me Mufasa? I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was great. It's nice to see Ali back. Is he Mustafa Ali or is he Ali? I'm not even sure anymore.
No, he's Mustafa Ali. He's Mustafa Ali. Like, they gave him his first name back.
Thank goodness.
Kind of like Apollo Crews.
Now we have this MVP lounge segment coming up.
Yes, and big things are popping. And, he talks, about having the opportunity to meet Ali, this person that just basically wants to see the light, and all that. And he's like, you know what? I want to help him see the light. So he introduces his guest, Mustafa Ali. And Ali talks about him and his little friends putting the Hurt Business out of business. And he's really happy to be back. He's happy to be on Raw. He's happy to be able to climb the ladder and become a champion, a real champion. So it's kind of like a rub against MVP, who's basically stolen or taken hostage the United States Championship. And MVP says that, listen, like, you have to make the right decision and hang out with the right people. And Ali just says that just because you can brainwash these two meatheads, it's not going to work on him. And then R-Truth comes out of nowhere and he tries pinning Shelton Benjamin, but to no avail. And then R-Truth just escapes, which I thought that was odd. And
great effort there.
Yeah, we have our next match. We have Ali versus Lashley, and Lashley was dominant for most of the match. Akira Tozawa shows up midway to pin Shelton Benjamin, and he gets taken out along with his ninjas. And before the commercial,
all the ninjas got taken out.
Basically, yeah. And then after that happens, Ali launches himself at Lashley outside, taking him out, but Lashley again took control. Towards the end, Ali tried to hit him with the 450 splash, but Lashley actually catches him, and he hits him with the full Nelson for the win. Sorry, the Master Lock. And
yeah. So he basically avoids the 450, and then Ali is able to roll through and run and charge him, but he gets right behind him and puts him in the Master Lock, patent pending.
Yeah. So again, Lashley's reign of dominance continues. So that's really exciting to see. Next, we have Dolph Ziggler, who's interviewed backstage, and he's talking about the stipulation. He has no idea what the stipulation is. He mentions Randy Orton, and he says that he's the one going to SummerSlam. So it should have been him. We all know what happened. Spoiler alert, it's not him. Next up, poor Dolph Ziggler. But hey, next up we have Sasha. Next up we have Sasha Banks. She's up against Asuka, but first there's promo, and Sasha talks about how nobody likes a bully, and there's no bigger bully than Stephanie McMahon. So she's forcing her to defend her Raw Women's title because she's jealous of her and Bayley. Because
it's not untrue.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not because they hold all the titles, but because they run the whole damn company. So whether it's NXT, SmackDown, or Raw, they are the show. And again, it's true.
They rule the world.
Yeah, bottom line is they have all the gold.
And so we have our title match where it doesn't matter what happens, somebody's going to lose by whatever means. The other person's going to be the champ. So this could be a submission, interference, DQ, count out, cough, cough, and that will be a way to lose the title.
Yeah, so Asuka makes her entrance with Kairi Sane. Sane quickly chases out Bayley, so we think it's going to be a fair match, but not quite, cough, cough. So
that was funny, though.
Yeah.
It's super funny the way she just like charges Bayley. Bayley leaves, is like, okay, what are you doing? And then they just chase each other into the back. And we have a really good match for the first half until the shenanigans begin, basically.
Yeah, so I have to say, just like their match at Extreme Rules, so we got 20 minutes of incredible wrestling yet again between these two. And we see an evenly contested match at the beginning with Asuka hitting her with hip attacks and kicks, but Sasha actually hits her back with kicks of her own. Every time Sasha thought that she had an answer, however, Asuka reversed and she put her in a submission hold. And the story told in the match at the beginning was obviously that Sasha can win without her best friend. But hey, Sasha actually kind of fights back. She hits her with the backstabber, and she starts working on her leg. So the story of the match kind of shifts to where Sasha is basically working on the leg, and Asuka is the one that's kind of, in need of, I guess, Kairi Sane. But then all of a sudden, the camera cuts to backstage, and I'm like, who did this? Like, why in the middle of a match are we seeing, I guess a cut to backstage? But essentially, Bayley starts throwing Kairi around all over, and Asuka is distraught in the ring. She's trying to put Sasha down and trying to get the victory, but Bayley starts hitting her head on the garage door. And it's only when Kairi yells out Asuka's name that Asuka just kind of just leaves Sasha in the ring, and she runs out to save Kairi. But that was, I guess, her demise because the referee counts her out. So Sasha Banks is your new Raw Women's Champion, and we kind of see Asuka tending to Kairi, making her last WWE appearance, by the way, while Sasha and Bayley are celebrating in the ring.
Yeah, so, and keep in mind, Sasha Banks is out while this is all happening because it looked like Asuka was about to win. Sasha Banks had to resort to cheating to the point where she tried to use both titles to get a hit on Asuka.
Oh, yeah, that
even
scene.
did the Eddie Guerrero special where she pretends she got hit by the title.
Yeah.
But this time the ref was intelligent and realized what happened.
He's like, I see
None
what
of
you were
this
doing.
could work.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, it was a good attempt. And then Sasha was pretty much completely out of it, and Asuka just had to really pin her or like submit her. And if not for Bayley attacking Sane backstage, Asuka would be the champion right now. But unfortunately, that's not what we have.
But I have to say, man, after the break, we have Charlie Caruso, and she's trying to get an interview from Asuka and Kairi Sane because, they're both in the trainer's room trying to get an update from Kairi Sane. And then Sasha and Bayley, they interrupt her, and they're being obnoxious, and they're just celebrating. And, a while later, Asuka comes out of the trainer's room, and she's just pissed, man. Like, she is pissed. She's emotional. She's angry. She starts yelling, and I'm like, what? Well, they've done it. They've pissed off Asuka now. And could this be the return of NXT Asuka, where she just freaking starts dominating?
Please. I mean, this is going to be fun now. The role models have all the gold. I mean, I guess they probably spoiled SmackDown on this Friday because we know that Nikki's probably not going to take the title from Bayley. Although maybe your theory is finally going to come to fruition, and Bayley will be the one who's missing her second title. Who knows? But that's for next. That's for later on this week, I guess.
But it depends if they want to do like a slow burn. But to be quite honest with you, this whole Bayley and Sasha eventual breakup has been the slowest of burns. You know what I mean? Like, we've been expecting it for the past year or year and a half. So I think it's, if they really do want to pull the trigger on it, that could be a nice way of telling the story where, Nikki Cross maybe squeaks out and she, wins the SmackDown Women's title, and Bayley is the one now that's kind of playing second fiddle and being jealous of Sasha, showing her true colors after all. So yeah, you're right.
Little do you know that they're going to be a tag team for the rest of time, just like the New Day when everyone's expecting the New Day to break up. It's just going to be the next New Day, and they're going to become faces together. They're going to go back to being heels together, back to being faces, and nobody's going to complain.
And they're going to start gyrating.
That's what it is. You know it. Then they're going to have their own singles. Anyway, we're going too far here. Another match.
Yeah, we have a random match between Humberto Carrillo and Murphy. Murphy just charges towards him and he doesn't let up. I guess the psychology of the whole match or the story is that we're seeing maybe a darker side of Murphy. Like, it seems after what he had done to Aleister Black earlier on Raw. But Humberto does try to fight back with a flying back elbow, spinning kicks, and even launches himself through the ropes. And I have to say, it was an actually fun match with them being evenly matched. But Murphy gets the best of him by hitting him with a knee strike after Humberto Carrillo misses a top rope move, followed by the Murphy's Law, which looks oh so beautiful. I love the way that the Murphy's Law looks, man. And Humberto sold it really well too. But could this be maybe like a new side of Murphy where he's kind of losing control of himself after what he had done to Aleister Black, taking his eye out?
Yeah. And I would have probably agreed with you, because this whole match, if the one thing I took away from this match was that they kicked each other and they slapped each other real hard. Stiff was the...
Oh, yeah, no, honestly, like, I thought that it was going to be a one-sided match, but no, I was wrong, man. Like, we got a really, really fun match between these two, and again, like, I'm just like, I want more, and that's a good sign. Like, if you're watching a match, you're like, I want more of this. You know, they're doing something right. So hopefully we kind of get to see a little side story of Murphy. Maybe Murphy going back to the lighter side after seeing that Seth Rollins is just kind of out of his mind. I think that could be a cool story to tell. No?
Yeah, I mean, we've never seen Murphy as a face, and it's pretty hard for him to be a face after he was in that douchebag tag team back on NXT. Like, there was no way to cheer for this guy. So it'd be interesting to see him portrayed in such a way where we want to root for him. Mm-hmm. I'm down.
So now we have our main event, but before we see Drew McIntyre. He's backstage with Mark Henry once again, and his match is up next. He makes his way to the ring, and before Dolph Ziggler can make his entrance, Drew McIntyre gets on the mic, and he addresses Randy Orton. So poor Dolph Ziggler, he has no chance. But McIntyre makes it official too. He's like, well, it's official. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton at SummerSlam. And I'm like, wow, like, are we missing something? Like, what if Dolph wins tonight? What happens then, you know?
Yeah, they made it really obvious when the champion came out first, and then he got on the mic. I'm like, okay, well, clearly nobody cares about the next 20 minutes of this episode.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? Drew McIntyre does acknowledge Orton's wrestling pedigree and that Drew McIntyre may be the underdog. And he's like, you know what? Please underestimate me. Please keep underestimating me, just like Lesnar did and got his ass kicked in 5 minutes. And he's like, you know, you might say that that I'm not going to see the RKO coming, but you're going to see the damn Claymore coming. So, again, like a nice little retort. And, God, he's such a good champion, man. Like, he's such a good talker. And I'm, like, completely on board with, you know, the time that you said that Drew McIntyre should never, ever lose his title.
I agree. Yeah, like, I don't want Randy Orton to win. Like, I mean, I think Randy Orton deserves the way, with the work he's been doing, deserves to win the title. But, like, I still think Drew should retain. Like, I don't want to see Orton win. I want this to be a brutal match where Drew wins.
Yeah, no, same here, man.
It's considering how badly Randy Orton got beat up by Brock Lesnar that SummerSlam a few years ago. Clearly, Randy Orton has no chance. I mean,
yeah, but this is a different Randy Orton. You know what I mean? Like, this is him to being, you know, back to a legend killer and not the apex predator. So,
but it's not a legend yet, because if he's not, how's he gonna be able to defeat a non-legend?
That's true. But hey, Drew McIntyre calls out Dolph Ziggler. They get face to face, and he announces that the stipulation is an actual Extreme Rules match between both of them. So how nice of him. How nice of him, you know, like, just kind of being generous. And he's like, you know what? You can also hit me with a chair. You can also low blow me, and you can hit me with a kendo stick.
Would have been even better if he said it's an Extreme Rules for Dolph Ziggler again. You get another chance to do it, and you still won't succeed.
Yeah.
And yeah, they beat each other up for a long time, and they used a lot of weapons, kendo sticks, tables, all that stuff. Brutal match, honestly. It was very nice. But like, I mean, I was gonna be invested when you know the outcome.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, you know, Ziggler kind of starts the match and he sucker punches him, and he runs outside to get a steel chair, but, you know, McIntyre actually stops him. But then Ziggler hits him with a super kick and he launches him into the steel post and the barricade. But then Drew, again, effortlessly, just zero effort. He fights back and he just knocks him out with a single elbow. And then, you know, Dolph Ziggler is just selling that like death. And yeah, you're right. So it's like, at one point, Drew McIntyre actually picks up Dolph Ziggler and he launches him onto the plexiglass. He picks up a kendo stick and he just starts hitting him, just looking pretty freaking brutal. He throws a bunch of chairs and then he actually yells out, "It's a party." And as he's about to hit him with a chair, Dolph Ziggler low blows him. And now it's Dolph Ziggler's turn to kind of turn it to him and hit him with a kendo stick. And then he starts actually choking him with it too. But again, I found that the match was better than the Extreme Rules one. That's for sure. I don't know what you thought, but I thought that this was just a little bit more entertaining than what we got.
Well, I mean, it has to be, because now both guys can use the Extreme Rules, whereas the other one, it was like it had a little bit of an interesting drama to it because Drew couldn't accidentally get himself DQ'd.
Hmm.
So obviously, I felt this one was better because it was a straight up Extreme Rules match. And plus, the fact that, and we'll go straight finish here. The fact that Drew was able to like Claymore him through a table. I mean, like, how often do you see that? That was amazing.
Oh no, it was really great. Like, the table was just there chilling in the corner, and this was after Dolph Ziggler reversed and hit the Claymore, and well, sorry, not the Claymore, but he reversed the Claymore and he hit the zigzag, but he only got a 2 count. But Drew McIntyre just kind of got back up, hit him with a Claymore onto the table, and that's how he won the match. So Drew McIntyre is celebrating, and his music is hitting, and I'm like, there's still about like a minute left or something. Like, something's gonna happen. And as he's celebrating in the ring, Randy Orton comes out of nowhere, hits the RKO, and just he picks up the title and he puts it around his waist. And that's how the show ends. Randy Orton picks up the title that doesn't belong to him, and he's celebrating with it.
Maybe he can like take it home, change the design, and start walking around as the true WWE champion, like MVP is doing with the US title.
And Sasha Banks did for a week with the Raw title.
Yeah, but now Sasha Banks doesn't have to pretend anymore. She's legit the champ.
She's
so
legit.
That's unfortunate. Imagine that. All of the champs are not the real champs. What a strange... Are the Street Profits the real tag team champions, or did they lose it at some point? I forgot. It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. But hey, that was our recap for Monday Night Raw. Honestly, in a nutshell, I thought the show was really, really good. It's been solid, to be quite honest with you. And we are getting different storylines. Again, no storylines coming from Ruby Riott and Bianca Belair and even the Iconics, but it's okay if we don't see them every single week. I feel like if they just showcase different wrestlers to us each and every week, I think that's even better. Give them a little bit of a break, right? But this was expected. I think the whole thing with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, I think it's going to be a solid match. Randy Orton has been at the top of his game. I don't think that Randy Orton's going to win this. I think that, yes, even if Randy Orton might be deserving, I think that Drew McIntyre needs to remain champion, at least until the crowd comes. I feel like he needs to be, like, serenaded by the crowd, and he needs, like, that, I guess that show of respect from the fans. So I'm thinking that Drew McIntyre... Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm thinking that Drew McIntyre is going to keep it for a little while. Sasha and Bayley holding all the titles is a very intriguing story, but I'm hoping that it's not going to just kind of fall flat and just have them still remain best friends. I want something to happen between them. I want some sort of tension, and I feel like the best way to start it is on SmackDown. So I think that's going to be
I wonder how they're gonna have the challengers for the titles at SummerSlam. I feel like there's going to be some sort of winner take all type of thing, maybe in a tag team match. But who would be the best tag team or the 2 best women? I feel like maybe Asuka will not show up for a little while. I'm not sure. It seems like it would be.
I don't know, man. The way
for a little bit.
that you saw Asuka and her being angry, you know that Asuka's coming for Sasha Banks. You know that Asuka's coming for Bayley, and she's going to destroy them both for what they did to Kairi Sane.
That doesn't mean right now.
Sure.
It should be a 2-on-1 handicap match. Asuka just beats them both and takes everything.
That could be great. Asuka holding all the titles, all 4 of them. But hey, I mean, so we got that. I actually like the pairing of Andrade and Angel. I think that they're working really well together, and again, Selena being their manager, I think that they're definitely on the up and up, and I think their match against the Street Profits is going to be incredible. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is a title change coming that way. So, that's also exciting.
I would like to see that.
But yeah, honestly, just overall, and again, like the whole thing with Seth Rollins and Dominic, and even Buddy Murphy, who's kind of unsure, and Buddy Murphy's looking at Seth Rollins being like, is this guy really the Messiah of Monday Night Raw? Like, is this guy really leading us to the right path or whatever? I think it's a very, very interesting story. And let's not forget Mustafa Ali, and they don't have a team name yet, right? Like Cedric and Ricochet.
Cedric the Entertainers.
But I was just gonna say, like, their whole pairing with the Hurt Business, I think it's also going to be interesting. But I'm kind of hoping that, like, they kind of swerve us a little bit, and one of those entertainers kind of join the Hurt Business. I think that's going to be really, really awesome to see. So yeah, and also let's not forget Nia Jax is back, so that's amazing.
Yeah, I figured it out though. It's going to be Asuka and good old Charlotte coming back to team up against the role models.
Oh,
it makes sense. Good old Charlotte.
You say that, I'm just like, oh my god, you are so right. That could be a possibility.
That's what we need.
That's exactly
And that
what we need.
way, Andrade and Charlotte can have all the gold at the same time.
Oh, and then they can have a live sex show.
Whoa. Relax, man.
I'm just gonna end it right there. That was our recap
Jeez.
for Monday Night Raw. Make sure to check in our description for links to our YouTube page, to our podcast page. Thank you for so much for the support, and we will see you guys in the next one.
You're disgusting, man. Jesus.
You know what? How about you
Keep
stop
it
sounding like a
down.
robot?
Listen, man. I don't sound like a robot. It's you who sounds like a robot. It's you who's hearing me like a robot.